Hi guys, welcome to Lee Judges TV outside the Emirates, big North London derby, but also we've got some big news for you as well. We're launching our channel membership today.
Lee, how much is a pint at the Emirates?
$6.50 Dan.
$6.50. That is all you have to pay once a month to be a member of Lee Judges TV. What's that going to get you, Lee?
That is going to get you a live audience with me and you. And also some influencers that you all want to watch, and also some Arsenal legends.
And also, one of you are going to be selected at random to beat the judge at an Arsenal interactive quiz monthly.
Beat the judge? You've got no chance. And during live streams, you can get a membership badge and interact with me and Dan.
All you have to do, guys, is go to Lee Judges TV, click on join and be a part of the Lee Judges TV family. I tell you what, EastEnders, Coronation Street, eat your hearts out. Get us both signed up. I'll tell you that now.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, it took a couple of takes as well. I'll tell you what. I'll be disappointed if my agent ain't on the phone saying, Judgy, you're got a part in Peaky Blinders or something like, I'm telling you, like, Also, Dan, don't forget, Panto season coming out soon, mate. You never know,
Listen,
I don't know who you'll be, but, I think we could get a part in something,
I would do some form of duo, mate. My phone ain't stopped ringing, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Beauty in the Beast, that'd be a good one, wouldn't it? Like, yeah, Beauty in the Beast.
Which one are you, mate? Which one are you?
Oh,
that's what I want to know.
Okay, you know what I mean? Saying I'm the Beast.
Guys, make sure that you smash a join on the membership now. You will be able to do that once this video, or halfway through this video, so I'm told. So please make sure that you support Lee Judges TV. Be absolutely superb. Got loads of new content for you, as described in that promo clip, and we'll be able to join you there. And hopefully, you'll be able to see more content with myself, with some of the guys below who have joined us today, Kevin Campbell, some other Arsenal legends, and of course some quiz questions, which I'm looking forward to. See who can beat Lee Judges, because he's got some info, this guy. I can't lie. He's got some knowledge, has Lee Judges. So make sure you do that, guys. Please smash a like on this video. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'm going to welcome our guests. Sophie Nicolau, how the devil are you?
I am not going to lie. I'm absolutely exhausted. I have a bit of a migraine, and it's not because I drank too much yesterday. It was the longest day ever because I got up at 1 o'clock in the morning to drive to LA to go hang out with the Arsenal Los Angeles group who are part of Arsenal America to watch the North London derby, and it was insane. They're brilliant. It was such a laugh. What a great group of people. Just wanted to say thank you to them for being so awesome, and what a match we got to see together. So it was a long day because then I had to cover the LA Galaxy and do Talk Sport. So I literally got half an hour's sleep. Tom knows how that feels, I think.
What time was the kickoff, Soph?
4:30 in the morning. But
wow.
So the pre-game and stuff start. Well, everyone getting together, and most people stayed up actually last night.
Was drinking
up to a certain time, because you can't buy alcohol after a certain time in LA. So I won't reveal all the secrets of the gang there, but they can start serving alcohol at 6:30 in the morning, put it that way.
Fair play.
Fair, man. Play. And listen, thanks for joining, seeing as you're not 100% tip-top. I'm sure
that's why I'm wearing sunglasses. I'm not being an LA wanker.
They're the worst. Nah, they're the worst. Migraines are the worst, man. So I appreciate you joining us, Soph. I'm sure you're buzzing, and it will cheer you up yesterday talking about the game. Much appreciated. Somebody back from his honeymoon. I hope you had a good time in Mauritius, young man. How the devil are you, Thomas Canton?
Yeah, very good, mate. Very good. Rested. I'm not, in
rested.
The wars like Sophie.
Rested on honeymoon. Come on.
Yeah, I've had a few days back now, and that's where it stops. It's now no more of that ever again after being married. That's how it works.
Hey, you've got to make the most of it. I'm glad you had a good time, though, man. And of course, it's good to see you back. And of course, on this channel, this is going to be a great one. I'm really looking forward to this one. Yesterday was an unbelievable day. And you know what? This weekend's been great. Watched a great game of football today, just laughing my head off at Man United getting absolutely battered by Manchester City. What an absolutely scary partnership KDB and Haaland is looking. We've titled this one, Are We Up for the Title? But I think it's going to be wrapped up at the end of March at this rate, the way Man City are playing. It really is looking quite scary as far as I'm concerned. But we're not here to talk about Man City. We're here to talk about what happened yesterday. And I can't lie to you guys, it was a fantastic day. From minute one to the end, it seemed like we have a little bit more of our Arsenal back. And I think that when we look at the connect and around the place, the atmosphere, of course, it was buzzing. I got in the ground quite early. I don't really like 12:30 kickoffs, but yesterday was absolutely fine because everything was early. And I must admit, the atmosphere was stunning at times. Even before the team news had come out, everything was going absolutely nuts. In the concourse, they were doing some deals at the Emirates, which I think they should do more, to be fair. It gets a lot of people there, and a lot of people were there early, and it was absolutely buzzing. And I think that the game started just like that. I think personally throughout it, there were moments in the game which deflated the atmosphere a little bit, i.e. giving away a penalty with a bozo moment. But other than that, the rest of it really did look pretty good as far as Arsenal were concerned. And I think going into the game, the nerves were there for everybody. I don't think there's any Arsenal fan that would say that they were confident of 3 points. You never can do that in a North London derby. But what you can do is provide an atmosphere that Arsenal have done home and away for the last couple of seasons. And I really did feel that yesterday. Lee, going to start with you, man. Were Arsenal too good? Were Tottenham poor? Or was it a bit of both for you yesterday, mate?
A little bit of both before I start. I just want to say hello to Matt. He's in the chat. Like, what good friend of mine, old Matt there. So how you doing, Matt? I'm good.
Big up,
Thank
Matt.
you very much. Do you know what? You know, like Sophie says, it's tired. I'm tired because the night before, Friday night, went to bed. I was waking up in the middle of the night. I couldn't sleep properly. Bloody nerves. Nerves had kicked in, like, you know. Actually, got up. I didn't have to get the train till, I think we didn't have to leave till about 8:30 because obviously the trains were terrible. But I was up about 6:30, you know what I mean? But should never have worried about that sleep pattern. I should have, you know what I mean? Should have gone through and slept like a baby for 8 hours because, my word, the boys turned up and they played. And, you know, look, listen, I was on a show, what we Sophie, with Anthony and Ricky, who are two nice Spurs fans. I have to say that, like, but I just wanted us to just nail them even more, like really put it into them. Like, it doesn't matter how nice. There's no such thing as a nice Spurs when
we were too nice.
We're too nice, you know what I mean? But there's no such thing as a nice Spurs fan when you're 3-1 up down to 10 men, rip them. That's what I was thinking, like, and I think, like, I thought it was fantastic that their manager, the old good old, you know, your lover boy, Dan, your lover man, like, you know, bringing on all defenders to just try and make it as respectable as he could, like, you know what I mean? So, listen, I thought we was brilliant from start to finish. We had that little dodgy spell once they got that goal, and it was poor defense. I've just watched it again today. What was we doing? But that was a mistake we made. But for the next 5 minutes, that was the only time Spurs were on us, and I thought we see it out really, really well. I've got to say that the spine of this team is the best spine I've seen for a very, very long while. You know, like Ramsdale, I thought played really well yesterday. That's what I like to see him. You know, didn't really do nothing in the second half. Saliba, you can say this says Saliba, Partey, and then Jesus. You know, it was wonderful. It's really strong. Some fantastic performances. You know, Tottenham fans really dissing Saka, saying that they wouldn't get into his 11, their 11, couldn't get in the Spurs team, like, you know. I think they're saying that now, are they? Like, you know, I mean, Perisic, he's twisted more terms on the dance floor than he did on the Emirates. I'm telling you, all over the shop. I thought Saka, by the way, I watched his performance again. I don't think, if you really look back on it, guys, how good the performance that was from him. He was fantastic. And the other kid on the other side, Martinelli, well, second half, I thought he was outstanding. Again, I think, you know, listen, I'm going to criticise. I'm not going to criticise Jesus because he was fantastic, but he missed a couple of chances again. If he can just be a little bit more ruthless, what a player he has here. And I'm going to say this now. Those Spurs fans, they can gloat as much as they like about Richarlison scoring for Brazil. But I tell you what, I'd rather our number 9 score for the Arsenal. That's more important to me. He can go and score as many goals as he wants for Brazil, and they can gloat about it and say what they like. But I like my number 9 to score for the Arsenal, thank you very much. And that was what he did. Good night. See you in January, you horrible lot.
Yeah, and a great way to end that, because a lot of them were giving it about how all of their players are now going to be scoring internationals and half of ours stayed at home. Well, I was happy I stayed at home, and I said that from day one. I don't care that Ramsdale weren't in goal. I was happy Ben White weren't there. I was more than happy that the Brazilian lads stayed at home because they all look fresh, and they showed it if I'm honest with you, yesterday. Tom, let's come to you, man. In terms of style of play, you couldn't really get more opposite, really. Conte definitely doesn't want to sit there and play progressive, attractive styles of football and never has. But it wins you games and it doesn't lose you games. Yesterday, he lost the game, mate. And I thought Arteta really, this season, has started to show some, not just attractive style of football, but a style of football people are going to be jealous of, if I'm honest with you. What I'm looking at the moment is actually a really... I love watching Arsenal at the moment. And I think a lot of fans have said that. They've said, neutral fans I'm talking about, saying Arsenal are great to watch at the moment. And a lot of that has to do with the manager. But I was a little worried because we've already seen this season at Old Trafford that we can get caught on the break and be a little bit naive. Tottenham are the perfect team to set up like that, to catch you on the counter-attack. And we saw a couple of times, didn't we, that particularly over the side of Zinchenko, that Richarlison and Emerson Royale were getting him throwing a little bit of space. I actually thought it'd be Perisic and Son. But for me, I would have played Tierney at the start. I think he's better than Zinchenko defensively. And I was worried about that. I thought, here we go. He's going bloody wandering again. I like you, Zinchenko, but you need to sort your discipline out with your positioning, my friend, because you ain't the left back at the moment, my guy. So for me, I was frustrated, but it didn't matter. So for us, I thought we were great. And one of the main reasons for me, Tom, was having that guy in the middle of the park yet again. Because with Lokonga, we don't have that style of play. Partey is so integral to what we're trying to do at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that it's significant when he's available. It's no surprise that we didn't have that quality in the middle when we went to Spurs at the end of last season, and he was absolutely missed. The style of play is integral to having him in there as well. The progression, the turnover of the ball. I didn't think he was fully fit. I think that was kind of obvious. I think there was a number of times that Spurs managed to hit us on the counter and there was a lot of space in front of the back four that's not usually there when Partey is fully fit because he's very good at getting back. Because he wasn't fully fit, I think there were a number of times where that space opened up a little bit more that shouldn't when he gets back to his best, hopefully, against Liverpool, because he's going to be absolutely key for us in that game. And you'd have to say that, if we'd have had him available for that game away at Manchester United, I just think it would have been a completely different scenario for Arsenal. And I think we've seen from United today that when they're, really under the cosh of a really clever, clinical side, they get turned over. And I think that United will count their lucky stars that they played Arsenal in that moment, in that day, because we weren't on it in terms of finishing. We didn't get very lucky in terms of the Martinelli situation, and we didn't have our best midfielder available, which really changed things for us. But we did have all those things yesterday, and that all contributed towards that win. And yeah, it's the comparison between Conte's style and Arteta's style in particular. I think that at the start of Arteta's tenure, there was a lot of talk and frustration around the way that we played because it was quite dull at times at the start of Arteta's tenure. And I think the difference between then and now is that he's been able to get the players in that he wants. We've constructed a side that's full of quality, that's full of dynamism and movement, and just kind of akin to what he wants. And now we're seeing him express with this team, and we're seeing the players express what they're capable of doing. I think there was a great kind of clip that's going around from the first 30 seconds of yesterday's game where you saw Spurs take the ball immediately, come into our half. We turned it over and immediately just pressed them and pushed up the field as soon as possible. And it really set a precedent for how we were going to attack the game. Just to kind of round off this short monologue, short being the kin word there, but just kind of round this thing off. The key is when you look at the way in which Arsenal are playing, we all kind of talked ahead of the game. Will we be found out naively by Spurs' counter-attack? And Man City have been found out by Spurs' counter-attack. And what did City do? They still went on and won the league. You can't change the way you play and the way that you're built to suit an opposition if you have ambitions to go on and win things. The teams that go on and win the things don't go and base all of their games off on what their opposition are doing. They go and win those things by being great. And if we want to be great and win things, we need to do that on our own terms. And I think we did that yesterday.
Yeah, well said, Tom. I totally agree with that. And so I'll come to you because something I've been really impressed about in these first 8 games isn't just obviously the results, but more importantly than that is how our departments are now playing together. Like I see a first 11 that I really like, but what I see is more than just 11. I actually see a defensive unit. I see that 3 in midfield that when it's fit, we look so good, so much better. And the front 3 does not stop running. I don't care if you name Saka, Martinelli or Jesus. They don't stop running. I think the 3 of them complement each other fantastically well. And I totally agree with what Lee said. I think sometimes Saka's got a little bit of a hard time this season, but his work rate's always been there. He's never not given a damn. He's always taken 110% in my opinion. And he is still assisting people and scoring the odd goal here and there. But I do think that the massive change and shift in terms of quality and player development that I've seen has come in those kind of three departments of the team. And I thought yesterday, all of them were sensational. I couldn't pick a man of the match. I couldn't pick a weak link. I couldn't pick one that was off of his game. It just looked fantastic to me, Sophie. It really did.
Amazing, isn't it? What a team looks like. And that's what Arsenal have become. They've become a team. And you guys know, Kev and I have argued a lot over the almost 3 years about whether it's the manager's fault or the players. And Kev has always insisted it's the players. Even Pep Guardiola today, pre-game or post-game, I can't remember which, was talking about the players make the difference. You know, City were good last season and won the league without Haaland. He's here now, and they're even better than they were last season. We've had apathetic players who don't do their jobs in their positions over the years. And that has been half of Arsenal's problems. So when you have only one person up front doing the grunt work, you have one person in midfield that's, grafting, when you only have one defender who's hustling, that has always kind of been our Achilles heel. And now we found ourselves in a position, and I did say, as critical as I was of Arteta, that when he does find a team that he can build in his own image, then we can judge him even more so and see what the real Arsenal is and can look like under him. And I think that this season we're seeing that a lot. We saw glimpses of it last season, but the difference this season in those units working are 3 players, one who needs to stay injury-free for most of the season, and that's going to be questionable with Thomas Partey. What he brings to the team, he's like the engine, he's the nucleus of everything. He's like the heart, and all the veins and the vessels just pump through it to the rest of the team. And that heartbeat just goes from the back to the front to the middle and all over the place. And the other difference is Jesus. What he has shown from the graft on the pitch, the dude doesn't stop working, which sometimes I hope doesn't become a detriment to the team, because there was a ball that Saka put in, which was fantastic, and there was no one there to finish it off because he's a bit further up the pitch doing all of that hard work. But what an unbelievable player. I don't understand the comparison with Richarlison either, because of the Brazilian thing, because he's an all-rounder. He can score goals, he can score wonder goals, he plays in a unit, he can play as an individual, do brilliant things, but the work he does off the ball is incredible. And when you have Saliba, who comes in as a new, fresh player, so now you've got like the captain of one unit, which is Jesus. You've got the captain in the middle, which is Thomas Partey, which, by the way, we could talk about it, I'm sure, at some point. Some would argue whether Xhaka's the captain or Partey is. And then you've got Saliba at the back. That just bodes well for building a team, and other players will follow good players like that. And we've got a respectability factor now, not only between each of the players, the understanding their positions and working as a team, but I think that a while ago now, whether we did or not, they bought into what Arteta was trying to do. And that is so visible. When the third goal went in, when Xhaka scored to wrap it up, I sat there and I was like, wow. For a minute, I froze, not because I think it's going to happen, but I was just looking at them and I thought, you know what? I think they believe that they can win the title. And I've never seen, my hairs go up thinking about it, because I was like, that's never jumped off the screen to me since the Leicester, when the year where we should have won, when Welbeck's goal went in. And I think every Arsenal fan in the land and the players thought that the title was ours. In that moment, I thought, they actually believe that they can do this. And that relationship now between the players and the fans is another part of that unit you might want to add into the mix, Dan, because it's really special and it's not been like that in a very, very long time.
Yeah, Lee, there does seem to be a bit of a different feel about this Arsenal team at the moment. First 8 games, you saw it in pre-season, and you said to me, mate, I know you haven't seen much of pre-season and I've been out there live, but some of these players look like they've taken us to a new level. It does look exciting and I am encouraged. And I thought, yeah, let's just wait until the season play out. Once I've seen what I've seen in this last 8 games, I can start to get behind what I think is something new at the moment. And I think that the 3 players that we've brought into the mix, whether you call Saliba a new signing or not, he's a new player for us now. He has taken us to a new level. I think what Gabriel Jesus has done to the front line definitely has. And I have to big up Granit Xhaka yet again. This guy at the moment is absolutely different gravy. He looks like a different player with a new position. He looks happy. And do you know who else seems happy at the moment? The fans. It's as if all is forgiven. And there are a few fans, and I hold my hands up and say that I'm one of them, that have found it hard to move on from Granit Xhaka and what happened a couple of years ago. But when he's putting in performances like that, who am I to sit there and say that I should be holding a grudge still? Because if you can actually try to win the fans back over, the only way you're going to do it, mate, is by putting in performances the way that he is. I think he's been nothing short of sensational in these first 8 games. He has been the one that I look at the moment, having all the confidence on the ball, and the players around him at the moment are all passing the ball with confidence, knowing that something's going to happen. And I'm not talking about something's going to happen about him calming things down. He's actually trying to get things going forward at the moment, and I think it's really working for him moving forward. The other player, Lee, that I think don't really get enough credit this season is Ben White.
Yeah.
I think he has been magnificent, mate. Absolutely magnificent. And it seems that because he's the guy that's taken Tomiyasu's place and the guy that isn't really a right back, and not a lot of people are mentioning it. And I've said a couple of times I probably would have looked to play Tomiyasu in a couple of the games. I would have played him against Brentford, and I probably would have played him against Spurs. And the reason it's been proven wrong and the right thing to do was to keep Ben White in was because he's doing what Tomiyasu does plus more at the moment. He really is. I think the guy's been superb. And I don't know why, but it seems that you can't give this guy any credit. It's just bizarre. I don't really get it. You're not allowed to credit Ben White for some reason. It seems with particular section of this fan base. But I think he deserves a mention because I think he's been superbly.
Yeah, let's take the Ben White one first. Every time Ben White's played, he's come up against someone like Zaha. Oh, look, he's going to get roasted here. He's going to sort him out. You know, then it was, oh, look at Song, you know what I mean? Oh, let's bring Tomiyasu back. Every single time.
Zaha as well.
So you can't, come up against a wide player. Oh, let's bring Tomiyasu back. He's been brilliant. And I'll tell you what, after him slagging off the Spurs fans as he went round there, he's got more fan base backing him now than ever, like, you know. So I think that's fantastic. Listen, I done an event at the beginning of the season, and I was asked, you know, where do you think Arsenal finish at the end of the season? And I said second, and everybody laughed at me. All laughed at me. And they said, why do you think that? So I said, because I've seen a different Arsenal. I went on that pre-season tour, and I see a different Arsenal. I see a Saliba that was unbelievable. I told you, Dan, do you remember when do you remember like coming in the Crystal Palace game, was going on the train, and I said, I can't wait for you to see this boy. Wait till you see him. Like, I was excited about him. I was excited about Jesus. Now, I've seen a few people saying about Gabriel getting a bit of criticism. Gabriel, by the way, is doing nothing different to what he was last season. Nothing different at all. The reason it's been highlighted a little bit is because we're watching Saliba, who's just an upgrade on him. And that's no criticism of Gabriel. There's no criticism whatsoever. You're seeing an absolute wonder kid at 21 years of age. He's a wonder kid. I've not seen, I've said it on an interview yesterday, and I'll say it now. I have not seen a better 21-year-old defender than him. Name one. No, you know, have an argument with me. Was Van Dijk, who I think is fantastic, as good as that at 21? Was Tony Adams as good as him at 21? I could argue that. Was Sol Campbell. Martin Keown.
Paolo Maldini. That's who he reminds me of. Paolo Maldini.
How old was Maldini when he might have been a little bit, you know, in there? You know, and if you're talking Maldini, this is how good this kid's going to be. Like if we're comparing him with that at that age, it's incredible.
I'm not saying he's there yet. What I'm saying,
no. I know exactly what you mean.
He's got the calmness and the class and the touch and the finesse. It's a mix of Rio and Maldini.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Company Varane, they're talking about there, like, you know. I hope you don't end up like Varane. I can tell, like, look like, you know what I mean. Looks like but hopefully not like. But I'm really, really impressed with him. You know, I think that he has come in and done exceptionally well. Obviously, I think that Shinchenko's made a difference. Gabriel's made a difference as well. But let's just talk 2 minutes about Granit Xhaka. Like, you know, I had an argument a season ago when people turned around and said he's our best midfielder. Everybody's going, no, it's not. It's Thomas Partey. It's Thomas Partey. And the argument was, for me, was that Thomas Partey probably is a better player, but he's not playing as much. But now, if you say that Granit Xhaka is the best midfielder, there's a real case for it. Just on not because Partey's playing or not. Because I'll tell you what, I'm going to say this yesterday. I thought Partey was outstanding again yesterday. I played midfield. He makes midfield look easy. Someone always said to me, he always looks like he's got time on the ball, and that shows you how good a footballer he is, because he always looks like he's got, he's just strolling around. He makes midfield play look easy. But Granit Xhaka, I think, has got to, I think it's a testament of his character, his mentality, to come through and do what he's done and win the Arsenal fans over. I don't care. If any fan out there does not like what they're seeing with Granit Xhaka no more, then you're just being stubborn, because it is fantastic what I'm seeing, And I honestly thought, right, this is genuinely, when at Brentford the other week, and I told you this, I got emotional when he was clapping and the crowd was singing and all that. I thought that was the defining moment. It wasn't. It was yesterday's goal when he banged that in, Granit Xhaka is now a fan's favourite. Can you believe that? He's a fan's favourite. They even played a song for him after the game. I think it's fantastic. Just one thing I want to say though, about everything there. I don't know who you want to give credit to it, whether you can give it to the fans, you can give it to Mikel, the players and whatever. The atmosphere at the Emirates is something I have never, ever experienced and never thought I would do. Now, people have been criticising and saying that's the worst away fans that they've ever seen in Tottenham Hotspur yesterday. I disagree with that. I just think that they come up against a tidal wave of Arsenal fans that's never been seen before. I've heard away fans, I've gone to games and heard just Tottenham singing and the away fans singing. We've all been there and heard it's just the away fans singing. They get drowned out every single time they try to make a song with the Arsenal fans. There was a song yesterday that they done where it was, I think, I can't remember which one it was now. I think it's by far the greatest team the world has ever seen, Arsenal. The whole stadium, barring them lot in their little away end, everybody from the top level, from the club level, from the boxes, from the North Bank to the clock end, were singing it. I've never, ever experienced that in all my times as an Arsenal fan. And I'm going back to Highbury when it was like standing and all that. You'd have the North Bank and the clock end. Very, very rarely the West Stand and East Stand would join in. It was a bit like, I've never, ever experienced this. It is an absolute pleasure to be in there. I could not wait to get into that ground yesterday and experience it. And my God, I was not let down. And listen, guys, we are unbeaten at home this season. And I do think there's a reason for it. I really, really do. The atmosphere was fantastic. Oh, what about all the flags and all that from the Ashburton boys yesterday behind the clock end? Come on, it's unbelievable what they're doing. I see them all coming out the Iglet yesterday, and they sing all the way down the road. They're fantastic. They're this is a 12:30 kickoff, by the way. Most people are still asleep when they're up. It is sensational, and that is not just because it's Spurs. I'll tell you what, tip me hat off to who's ever done it. The atmosphere in the Emirates. I just watched it on telly, you can even hear it coming out of the telly, It's just fantastic. So well done to everybody. And it is never ever what they call the library, or
Library,
It's the noisiest library I've ever been in. I can tell you that now,
100%, Lee. Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think even the songs after the game now, there was 4 songs that were played through the tannoy that all relate to our players. I can't remember the last time that's happened. We normally get 1 or 2 that a few people might sing in one part of the stadium. But now to have that on the tannoy is fantastic. Guys, membership is up and away. You can join the channel. It's just been put up in the link. Join as a member. If you go down to the description where you normally hit subscribe, click join. It will show us if you're a member as well. It will come up in the chat and we'll throw it up on the screen and say thank you. So please make sure you do that. It's going to get you some live and exclusive content throughout the week. So please make sure that you do that and become a member of the channel. Tom, let's come to you, sir. It's mad, isn't it, when you have a win like this, because you don't actually know what players to pick up. I think we've mentioned quite a few already, but there are going to be a few that I want to talk to you about. in relation to how I feel we cancelled out Tottenham. And for me, the second half performance, I thought we went up a different gear, mate. And I think what I want to say about this team this season that I've seen is not just another year's passed and we've seen players develop. I think that all comes with it. I think Mikel Arteta has definitely learned from some of his mistakes. And as we say, learning on the job, he's going to do that hopefully. And another year passes, he gets better. But what I've seen is a mentality shift, Tom. And I've seen it a few times now. I saw it in games against Fulham. I saw it in games against Villa. I saw it in games against Leicester, where if they scored, we could bounce back. Now, last year, factually, this is true. We went 1-0 down. We didn't really get 3 points in most of those games. We've seen it now with Fulham that we can do that. We've seen it that we can bounce back and score if somebody equalises against us. We've seen it that we can lose a game against Manchester United and then bounce back and beat Brentford and then Tottenham. And again, yesterday, we saw that when they get back into the game, and let's be honest, it did deflate, much as it was great, and we've just spoken about it, it did deflate the stadium a little bit when they got their penalty. We managed to bounce back into it. And that half-time team talk for me, I think from Mikel Arteta, weren't no photographer involved. Put it that way. I think it was him telling them, you're the better side. Mentally, let's go and do this. And I think we came out as a different team in that second half. I thought Martinelli's performance was outstanding in parts, mate. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And, you know, the Emerson Royale sending off, I think he completely lost his head because of that. And I think for me, Martinelli is obviously one of those players that I think he got frustrated with because he just at times had him on toast. Likewise, Saka and Jesus, man. This front three at the moment, Tom, is looking very dangerous, bro. It has to be said.
Yeah, absolutely. We needed that. We needed a number 9 that was going to elevate what Arsenal are capable of achieving, that was going to take what we have existingly and raise the level of the others around them. And Jesus has done that. I think that, and I remember when we did the season preview on Sophie's channel over on the Highbury Squad, Harry raised the point around how having Jesus would enable Saka to be more free because it would take players off him. Ironically, that's not necessarily happened because teams are still putting 2 or 3 players on Saka. The benefit for us, though, is that then Jesus doesn't have to deal with all those players around him because they're still focusing their efforts on trying to stop what Saka's doing. And I'm actually kind of come to the realization that this season, potentially, why Saka has still been a bit quieter than what Jesus and Martinelli have is because teams are still focusing their efforts on trying to minimize the impact of Saka, which has then enabled Jesus and Martinelli to become a lot more kind of, threatful in these games. And I think that's certainly happening. With Martinelli, though, this is a kid that is desperate to go to the World Cup with Brazil. I mean, for any other country on the planet, it's just not the same for Brazilians. They take the international scene so much more seriously. It is the absolute pinnacle to play for your country if you're Brazilian. And Martinelli will be absolutely desperate to get onto that plane. A lot of people talk about the fact they don't want to see players going on the international breaks. They don't want to see players going to the World Cup. Believe me, it will be more damaging to Martinelli to not go to that World Cup than it will be for us to see him go, because he's not necessarily going to play too many games anyway. Vinicius Jr. is going to be starting on that side for Brazil. So it's not like we have to worry about Martinelli's injuries or fitness being a problem. We need to make sure that his morale stays at the absolute pinnacle. And having this World Cup as motivation right now, I think, is having a serious impact on him. Jesus is going to go. He wasn't in the last squads, but to my understanding, that wasn't to do with kind of selections. It was more to do with Chite having a look at the options that he's got and seeing if he can take any others that he might have still some doubts about. There isn't any doubts about Jesus. He will most certainly be on that plane to Qatar. But these 3 in particular have just been excellent. And Odegaard, of course, behind them enables them so well to just raise their levels even more. The service he provides, the way he keeps the games ticking over. He wasn't particularly loud yesterday in a derby, and he certainly had games where he's been more so involved and more obvious. But I think it's what he does quietly that is really key to the way we play, and the strings that he pulls behind that front 3 is really important. So if they're ticking, Arsenal are going forwards, and we can basically now just hope that none of them face any injuries, because that's going to cause a big problem if any of them do go down injured, because Smith Rowe, of course, not being there is leaving us short on the left-hand side. We allowed Pepe to leave and didn't replace him, so we're short on the right-hand side. And then there's questions around whether or not Nketiah can cover if he needs to come in, which I'm sure we'll find out more so in the Europa League game. So it's a hope now that we get to January where you would hope to see some investment in that position on the field, at least a kind of Diogo Jota-style player that can play across the front 3 that we need to try and get in, because losing any of those 3 would be massively detrimental to our hopes of what we want to achieve this season.
Yeah, I think you talk a lot of facts there, Tom. I really do. And I think when you look at us moving forward at the moment, I think it's chalk and cheese from what we had with Lacazette. And I was a fan of Lacazette. You know, he's a good servant at Arsenal. Completely different for me now. We've got actual movement in our front three, and not just from Jesus. But I think what he's done is had an amazing influence on Saka and Martinelli. But Tom, I just want to stick with you for 1 second because me and you disagreed about something in relation to strength in depth.
We
And I think
disagreed
that
on something. That doesn't happen.
doesn't happen a lot, does it? Me, you, and Harry. But I do feel like this is probably the only concern I have at the moment because you can't have a concern about the way we're playing. You can't have a concern about as the manager improved, as the players improved. I do have a little bit of a concern about some of the okay, the bench that we've had in the last few games has concerned me. Now, in some positions, it looks pretty strong, Tom. I can't lie. It does. I think with Tomiyasu and Ben White, we've mentioned, Zinchenko and Tierney, we've mentioned. I think our centre backs have got enough cover. I think that when we look at the front three, there's positions that can come on and give us a little bit of excitement if Smith Rowe is fit and Vieira. But other than that, in midfield and up top, I really feel that we might be a little bit short. And that's my only concern at the moment. Do I have rights to be concerned or am I worrying for no reason?
No, you're not worrying for no reason. You know, we lack available depth. I think obviously we've lost players to injuries that have really cost us, and it's frustrating that we've lost certain players to injury. Getting Partey back is absolutely massive, but we lost our second choice in El Neni. I know that a lot of people go, you know, what are you talking about, El Neni? You know, it's El Neni. But at the end of the day, this is an El Neni that when Partey was out at the end of last season was putting in some really strong performances, and we've lost it. We absolutely should have, in my view, signed a midfielder in the summer. We didn't do that. We need to try and do that in January. And if we don't, then we run the risk of losing Partey for another extended period and not having the quality available to support that. In the forward line, as I've mentioned already, yes, we do lack something. We're hoping that Marquinhos can potentially be a bit of a gem like Martinelli was and arrive like we hope he will. And against Zurich, he was fantastic, but that's just one example. We don't have any more evidence to suggest that he's going to be able to do that more. Hopefully we see him play a bit on Thursday against Bud Glimt. You'd expect him to. So, yeah, there is. And I would have liked to have seen us gone and got more in the summer, even though it's mad that, you know, we still spent another summer with spending over 100 million quid and we're still finding ourselves short. It shows you kind of the level of the rebuild that we've needed at the club in terms of the squad and the quality throughout it. I hope that it's not going to be a problem, but it's hard when Partey is so unreliable. It's hard when Zinchenko is facing these injuries. It's hard when Odegaard and Vieira and Smith Rowe, all of our attacking midfield options have been missing at some point this season already. But there is kind of a level of unprecedented injuries to Arsenal before the international break with Partey and El Neni and Odegaard and Smith Rowe all missing because of injuries, on top of Zinchenko, of course, who was missing too. So I feel it's a combination of, yes, we are short in some areas, but also a kind of ridiculous level of injuries we've had to face in the opening weeks. But hopefully it works out fine till January and we can tackle it then.
Yeah, and I think you're right. We've got to try and hope, haven't we, and have everything crossed by January because we need to try and do something in a couple of those positions, in my opinion. I think Marquinhos could be a player that we use and could be a bit of a surprise. I've been really impressed with what I've seen of him and a little of it. I think Vieira looks like he has something about him. Obviously, Eddie has come on and he shows a lot of work rate intensity and he does know where the goal is. He just needs to try and make sure that he can sustain that and keep that going. And of course, we've mentioned the players at the back, which I like. I just do feel that we're perhaps a little bit short. So an area we're definitely not short, mate, is a 21-year-old called William Saliba. This kid, we mentioned a bit already, looks like a Maldini, you've said. For me, looks just like a Rio Ferdinand. When Rio Ferdinand came on the scene at West Ham, went to Leeds, and of course to Manchester United, everyone was like, wow, who's this new kid on the block? 21, 22 years old. And he went on to have a magnificent career. Now, if we've got a player like that, of course, we're going to be in for a treat. I've seen everything on this kid right now, and I'm yet to see a weakness. When you look at a defender, so if you look at somebody who's got good positioning, good composure on the ball, distribution, can read the game well, has good tackling ability, good in the air and aerial threat, has the stature and physical attributes of a centre half, I could keep going. Like, how good could this kid be, mate? Because I'm looking at someone who I want to be at Arsenal forever at the moment. He looks fantastic.
Well, let's hope so. My goodness. I hope Tom reassures me all the time that he's not going anywhere. And in Tom we trust. So anything's possible in football. And if he goes off, he didn't have a particularly good game for France. Tom, I don't know what your French journalist peers were saying, but from my conversations where he wasn't that great and he was subbed. I like for players to have those humbling kind of games. I actually feel the United game, although it's the only thing I've thought about since we beat Tottenham, I don't know why, I just can't get it out of my head, especially after the result today, looking at certain United players. Anyway, I digress. I don't want to talk about it, but I think that Saliba is one of those players where nothing phases him. But that game against United was humbling for him and the whole team. And not having Thomas Partey was the key. Because the defense sometimes is only as good as the midfield in front of them, and the goalkeeper's only as good as the defense in front of him. But I think he's saved Gabriel from other gaffes. I think Gabriel's getting away with it a little bit. I don't want to be negative because we just beat Tottenham. But I know Saka lost the ball. I know Xhaka could have probably cleared it better out of the penalty box. But you can't make that type of challenge on Richarlison in the box. You just can't. I know he was kind of thrown under the bus by his teammates a little bit, but he's had those tendencies over the last few games. And I think the narrative of, well, it's Gabriel and Saliba, Benjamin White's going to have to like earn it and X, Y, and Z. I wouldn't mind in a game, let's say if it wasn't Liverpool coming up, I would look at Benjamin and Saliba together as a centre-back pairing and put Tommy at right back just for a game. Just because I think that, players need that kind of thing. So Saliba has made him look good. I think that there were times yesterday where he bailed him out. I think there were times in the Manchester United game where we were playing so high up that the gaps we were leaving were Grand Canyon-like. But I still think he had a decent game. He's so good on the ball. Aerially, he's strong. He's elegant. His passing ability is sublime. He's got very quick feet. He's really good winning second balls. He's fearless playing, going up front when there's a set piece or a set piece, corners, free kicks. Unafraid to take a shot. What I like about these players, though, the most, Dan, is their personalities. He's really had to overcome a lot of adversity personally. Now, when you're young and you lose a parent or anyone in your family, it's so hard. Life is hard. You could have a bad day at work and it affects your mind and you have a bad week or you get upset. And he's had to deal with a lot young because also when you are that talented and the spotlight is on you, not only with club, but country as well, that comes with an insurmountable amount of pressure. And as critical as many of us were with how Arteta handled the whole thing, there's this growing up part and this maturity that he probably endured through loss and work experience. And it all happened to him at the same time. And if it's possible, I think that's made him an even better footballer. Because I think through his loss, he appreciates what he has. I think he's come into the situation totally professional. He hasn't brought any baggage with him. He's just got on with it. And what he's done and promised to do was show Arsenal fans his ability on the pitch. And for me, he's the most exciting player I've seen probably since Alexis Sanchez. There's something I don't know about being excited about a defender before, or just being excited to watch a player in his position, the way he moves, the way he adjusts, the way he pops in and helps his teammates. He is a joy to watch. And this is where Arsenal need to really hold on to these kinds of players and not repeat the mistakes of the past. Keep him, sign up Saka, build around, Jesus, build around all these players that we have. And in years, in a few years, maybe we're looking at being a Manchester City. Because there was a time when Manchester City were a nothing club. Facts.
Yeah, facts, 100%. And
on the City thing, everything else I said were not facts, just an opinion.
No. Before I come to Lee on it though, Soph, I want to talk to you about the potential of some of these players because a lot of people use the question, who's got the highest ceiling, Saka, Martinelli, Smith Rowe? I'm going to throw Saliba into that mix now and say that he's got a higher potential than any of them. Like I've never seen a player in this position with a ceiling so high that it could be world class. And everyone says that Saka could be world class and he's not far off it, and Martinelli's. I think Saliba at the moment is on a level on his own. I don't know another centre back out there playing like he is. And people said with 2 games gone, it's only a couple of games, give him time. We're now, nearly a quarter way through the season. I've seen enough of this guy to know that he has got such a high ceiling. And, you know, I get what you're saying with everything you said on the guy, but I think sometimes when you look at what he's gone through, that could be set aside. When you look at how good he is on the ball, I just have so much confidence when the ball goes near him that he's going to win it, that we're okay in the air with it, that he's going to pass it. There was at one stage yesterday where he was in his own box doing circles around players. And it's like, he's still not going to lose it. Now, if that's any of our players of the past, the nutmeg, yeah? And then he went in a circle, he's gone that way, that way, that way, that way. If that's Mustafi, you're going, hit it, get rid of it, clear it. We're all panicking. With Saliba, there's nobody in there was no even size around me going, oh, what's he doing? Get it out. Because it's Saliba now, and 8 games in, 21 years old, and people are talking like that. There's a high ceiling here, so massively, man.
Talent will only get you so far. In sports, we see really talented people fail all the time at the highest level. But there are talented people that still work hard and get even better. You know, Lampard had to work to become the high-scoring midfielder. David Beckham had to work really hard to score free kicks like that. You know, there's a lot of players. You know, Pepe was really working hard with Arteta to try and be. It didn't work out, right? And Pepe's a talented player. We've seen a lot of talented players go to waste, but what he has, he's got the talent, but he's also got the brain. And that, I think, is the most important thing. We've got players that are so young, they're young, but they're mature. Saka's mature for his age. Yeah, there's the naivety to them, and in All or Nothing, we saw babying kind of moments. But as footballers, you know, as sensible men, they never get in trouble. Like the Saliba video, it wasn't even him. The dude was just sitting next to someone having a little, you know, whatever he was doing. He's
playing with himself, I think it says.
Playing with himself. Thank you. I didn't know if I was allowed to say that on the channel.
I love that. The internal conflicts that you had, and Lee's just like, yeah, no, that's what it was.
My pause right there. And he's smart. So he's a thinking footballer. He thinks two passes ahead. He thinks ahead. And having those kinds of players is really special when they have that. Ozil in his pomp was just one of the best we've ever had at that. Players can't keep up. And sometimes Gabriel is a bit wet behind the ears for me, and he's not on that same level. And I'm not having a go at Gabriel today. But Saliba is just on a different playing field because he's got the talent, he works hard, but he's also got the footballing brain to match. He's really special.
100, he does look special. And Lee, before we move on from this point, I want to talk about that front three that Tottenham had that some, let's be fair, would be scared of. Most teams would be scared of Kane and Son. They would, because they know that they can turn it on. But Saliba and Gabriel, I mean, he needs applause. I know he has the bozo gene, and people say that he gives away penalties and he can be rash. He can be, but I'm a big fan of what I've seen of him in the last few years. I think he's been a really good centre half for us. I'm not going to start giving him the Ben White treatment. I think personally we've seen enough to know that he's a good centre half. And I think that pair definitely deserve a lot of credit. But we kept Kane and Son and Richarlison, to be fair, pretty quiet yesterday. They weren't peppering our goal at any point. It didn't look like we were going to lose out. There was no duels that I ever thought, wow, you know, Kane and Son look all over them. They ended up taking Son and Richarlison off. That's how bad they were at times. So I think that although I didn't think they were great, I think we have to take a lot of credit defensively for keeping them pretty quietly.
Yeah, you know, just the thing on Saliba, I think that, you know, I totally agree with what Sophie. I'm in awe of watching him play. I really love watching him play. And I was thinking about this today. You know, we haven't really been blessed, have we, watching central defenders since we've been at the Emirates? Like, you know, I think like Koscielny would probably be up there as one of them. Like, you know, I mean, you have a look at that Koscielny, like, as the best. You know, I mean, the standard's not very, very high. And that's, you know, I'm not criticising Koscielny because he was decent, but these, you know, these are up a level on them. Gabriel's up a level on. I don't. This take out Saliba at the moment. I was quite excited with what I watched with Gabriel the last couple of years. Powerful, pacey. I hadn't seen that for a very, very long while. So, you know, I was quite pleased with him. And then, like, you know, Saliba's coming in. It's been fantastic. Like, you know, I knew that Saliba would have Kane, because the one thing that Kane hasn't got is pace. I think Kane's a very, very clever player. Don't get me wrong. Like, by the way, should have been sent off. What I see today, like, did you see that little kick out at Gabriel that he had? Well, you know what I mean? Like, gets away with it because he's England captain. Outrageous. But anyway, that's another story. He hasn't got the pace to get away from people. And Saliba's got pace, and also he's got power. The one thing that he's not got, which Kane would probably work on him, was inexperience. But I'll tell you what, I thought he handled him fantastically well yesterday. Like, I think he knew he had his number. Brushed him aside a few times. I thought was very, very good. Listen, Tottenham could have got into some better positions because we was a little bit wasteful of our time. Or Gabriel just messing up a couple of times. It was one time, just thinking about it now, when I think Ramsdale put a ball over to get to Zinchenko, and he headed it back into their play. A couple of little mistakes that we done there, but ultimately, I thought we defended them really, really well. The good thing that we've got now is we've got pace, pacey, strong central defenders. That if we want to play a high line, we can, and I think that's where Mikel went a little bit wrong last season or season before. He carried on playing that same way, but in hindsight, it's probably a good thing. He carried on playing that way because he knew that when he got the central defenders in that he could, all the other little bits would marry up. And I think that's, as what's happened. He's now got central defenders he knows he can rely on with pace. And I think that it bodes well for the future. I think that 21, Gabriel's 23. If we can get them on the long-term contract, that's a central defensive partnership for 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons. That's something you want. The right fullbacks and the left fullbacks are in their early 20s as well. So I think there's something special on that. And everybody's going on about Manchester City today, fantastic. But I was talking to Kevin earlier on, they lost that second half 3-2. They can be got at. Let's not be.
Come on, they made 4 subs and.
No. They still lost 3-2 in the second half. You know what I mean? Conceded 3 goals at home. Oh, that's not good.
Pep will be furious about that, but
they can be got at. Let's get it right. They can be got at. Wasn't that what? I'll tell you what. Fantastic performance from Man City. We're only joking. They were great what they've done, but they're not perfect. They're not perfect by any chalk in imagination. You can get them. Ake, for instance, isn't as good as Saliba. He isn't as good as Martinelli. They can be got at. But they've got some fantastic players going forward. And actually, I don't know how you guys felt about it, but I'm thinking about it now. I wanted them to get about 8 or 9 today. I really did. I just wanted it to happen.
Once they got 6, I definitely wanted them.
Yeah. They weren't going to get a draw, man. So I just felt like, smashing about 6 or 7. But, ultimately, if you have a look at Arsenal's game against Manchester United, it was disappointing to lose that game, but we played well that day. I don't care what anybody says.
We lost. We still lost the game.
We still lost it because we made mistakes. And
lost the game.
There'd be times where I'd rather play like that and lose than play like Tottenham did yesterday and lose. And
wouldn't you rather play the odd game like that, so ugly, you win beautifully, and get 3 points and go home?
No, I wouldn't say, because at the moment we've won 7 games out of 8, and if we're going to lose one every now and then like that, I'm prepared to take that.
That was an opportunity to change the narrative at Old Trafford. It should have happened last season. It didn't. We let them back in the game. Gate showed them way too much respect. 2-0. We should have killed them off. Same thing in this one. We couldn't finish our chances. And yes, we didn't have Thomas Partey, but we had a lot of chances. And we should have buried those chances. And we made them look so good. And they had just signed their new players. That game was the game to say, you know what, walking away from Old Trafford with 1 point, not a problem. Go ugly in the second half. I don't care. Walk away from there with a point. This is where we've got to start evolving from, because process has evolved to progress. And now you've got to do it in those kinds of games. It's like the City game last season at the Emirates. I'm sick and tired of hearing, we played so well. No, we lost the game. We should have walked away with at least a point. To lose that game in the manner in which we did in injury time. Those are the moments where this team grows up. So I'm interested to see. I thought with Jesus and Saliba, we could turn that key at Old Trafford even without Partey. And I just think those games, we got to start getting something out of them in order for us to
But
say,
you
hey,
can't-
you know
you
what?
can't
We really are
legislate-
competing and challenging and evolving.
You can't legislate for players making mistakes, players missing chances. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, they missed them at Old Trafford. They didn't miss them. I'll tell you what, Sophie, and I hear what you're saying. It's a great point and all that, like. But I'd rather lose at Man United than lose yesterday and miss all their chances and all that, like, you know. And
That's
play
not
like
what
that.
the conversation is those games, in those moments.
Yeah, listen, I don't
we
care
need
whatever
to
you
start-
say. You're gonna lose games of football. You're gonna lose games of football. You know what I mean? Don't matter wherever you are, you're gonna lose at somewhere along the line because there's only been one team that's been invincible. So you are going to lose games. It's how you lose games. And I wasn't that disappointed about the Man United game because at the end of the day we've carried it on. We've kept it going. We've kept the momentum going. I'm disappointed. Of course, I'm disappointed we didn't win the game. But ultimately, if I thought we messed it up at the end with the tactics and the substitution. But before that, Lee, you know, we should have been, you know, a dodgy decision. Which, by the way, there was a foul on Odegaard. Yes, they're very, very similar in the game against Tottenham. Played on, you know what I mean, against us. The VAR get involved. I think at the end of the day, like, you know, we missed chances that day, and I'd rather go there and play like that. And every
I
now
agree.
like.
I agree what you're saying. I think what Soph's saying is how do we turn those kind of games into a
Take our
nasty year,
chances.
3 points.
Take our chances.
That's what I think we're getting is how we
Cut out
change that. And I think
mistakes.
that's what we want to see is if that's going to happen again, then we're going to be scratching already thinking, how's that?
It is going to happen
Like,
again, though, Dan. Like that will happen again. Like we lost that game at United the same way that City lost their games against Spurs last season, and City go on to win the league title because they play the same way, so dominant in every game because they know they can and they're better than every team. We've been better than every team we've played this season so far. We were better than United. We lost the game because it just worked.
Naivety.
It just worked for them.
Great point.
Naivety, sure. We can throw naivety in terms of the substitutions towards the end of the game. I think there was an element of naivety about that. And of course, we had a worse player in Lokonga playing that position, and 2 mistakes, and Gabriel's mistake as well, led to those goals. But also, we were unlucky because the first goal that we scored in that game should have counted. We should have gone 1-0 up in that game. And who knows what happens after, but at that point, it's completely different. But I don't want us to be like Spurs were yesterday, where they are analysing the opposition and tailoring the way that they play to that team. I want Arsenal to play their game, be the dominant side that they are, and go to every single game they play, knowing that they don't have to.
Of course we do. Everybody wants that.
Of course, but not be naive against certain teams. There's just certain teams with certain history, and those are the games where we need to change in order to. For example, last season at Old Trafford, we're up 2-0. We even walk away with a win there, right? Forget losing to Brighton and Southampton and whatever. We win that game, which we should have. We're in the Champions League this year. You know, going to City, if we lose 5-1, you know, where's the process and progress for everyone? Do we really want to go to City and lose 5-1 and play our football the way we're playing our football? Don't we have to be a little bit sensible?
I agree with you there, but I tell you what, I'd rather if we lose 5, I'd rather win at home because that's something we've got to address. We've lost to Man City at home, we've lost to Liverpool at home, and we've lost to Chelsea at home. That's the ones.
Same with that game this weekend, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why exactly. This is why this game against Liverpool is a massive game for us because this is a statement win now coming up here.
Yeah.
Win those home games. It's no divine right to go to Liverpool, Manchester City, Tottenham, Manchester United and win games of football. Why? Because they're bloody good teams and big crowds and are to get. Yes, try and get
Fulham got a point off Lee. Fulham got a point off Liverpool, Lee. That's my point.
And where will Fulham finish in the table?
It doesn't matter. We're not Fulham. I'm giving you an example of the fact that everyone thought that Liverpool were going to ransack Fulham and they get a point.
We would have gone to
Liverpool
got a point in that round and beaten them. They're in all sorts of trouble.
We don't know that.
The issue I have though is
Brighton have gone there and gone a 3-3 draw. You know, they were 2-0
playing some
up.
great football. You know,
yeah.
Well, let's not get too confident. We got them next.
No,
I'm joking.
I see what Sophie's saying, like, but like, you know, there's always that, you know, Burnley got a point at Arsenal last season, like, you know what I mean? Brighton went and beat Spurs. We didn't go and beat Spurs. There's always those teams.
Lee, with this team this season, with Jesus and with Saliba and with the players that we have, If we're going to be beating those teams this year, right, the Crystal Palaces of the world and the Leicesters, etc., it's the games trying to get a point at Anfield or the Etihad or Old Trafford, Stamford Bridge, which I think is the most likeliest where we could get an away win this year. Those points are going to be key. They're going to be the difference maker this year if we're going to be this good and beat the teams that we're supposed to beat most seasons.
I
Folks
agree,
say if
so,
you're
but I think
Arsenal.
the way we're going to beat them is playing the way we're playing now. Like Thomas and Leo are alluding to, we don't play this Conte football. We just haven't never done it. We've never tried to be resolute. We've never tried to play a low block and try to do what Tottenham do, counter-attack football. We just don't do that. We did it probably, against Man City and Chelsea when we first Arteta took over and won the FA Cup, probably doing it. I would say that maybe we looked at that style of football, but since then I haven't seen it.
I'm not
and
talking about changing how we play football. I'm just saying that at some points during the game, be pragmatic, be a little bit more like just try and it's okay to walk away with a point against certain teams.
I think that's fair.
That point or two
that is
can make all
fair,
the difference.
I think that's fair in the sense that, in the game against Man United this season, when we went to 1-1, there was kind of a sense of, oh, Christ, we can actually win this and we're going to go and push for it and go mad. And when that left us open.
We should have just calmed it.
Yeah. We should have been more, the way we were playing in that game, even before the substitutions, the way we were playing in that game, we could have won that, but we went too hard too quickly. So that's the naivety that I agree with, Sophie. For me, I think where I'm coming from, I think where Lee is coming from, is that if we're going to beat these teams away from home, I still think it's going to be done by playing like we did yesterday, by being dominant. You think about the Chelsea game at Stamford Bridge last season when we came away with a victory. That wasn't done by digging in, and taking a point or hitting on the break. We still did dominate a lot of the pieces of play in that game at Stamford Bridge. If you think back to the City game at home last season, we dominated City most of the time in the first half, and we were very unlucky not to come away with something in that fixture. If it wasn't for the crazy red card, we probably would have done. I think for me, it's a case of what you're saying there about in those finer moments where maybe our heads go a little bit and we think we can overthink things and go for it too much.
And that's spot
we
on.
need to
That
be
is
more
spot
reserved.
On.
But it's not as you say. It's not as you say about overhauling the way we approach a game. It's about individual moments in fixtures that ultimately we need to be a little bit more savvier about where we are and how we approach them. So
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I think what you're saying there, Sophie, is when you get to 1-1 and Saka scores at Old Trafford, keep your heads. Don't go gung-ho and rash and go and we go win this now and then leave yourselves open. Don't be naive. I agree with that.
It was
100%.
a mistake from our midfield and then our defence, were switched off. We've got to switch on.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean? So
I agree with that, man.
Right, let's hope we do learn.
Listen, we got to learn from him. We got to learn from the mistakes. To wrap the show off, I want to ask this to round it off. If we beat Liverpool, and it is an if because we don't know the way they're playing at the moment, I think we've got a good chance in comparison to the way we're playing. If we beat Liverpool, will we start to be talked about in the media as title challengers? Start with you, Lee.
Listen, I said yesterday, and I think you got to aim for you aim for the top. You say I think it's a great analogy for me, really. If you aim for the ball,
if you say so yourself,
even if I say so myself. If you aim for the ball, you get to 25. That's better than a 20. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it, and I think that's what we've got to do. We've got to try and keep on their coattails. And I think that next week's game doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be title challengers, but what it does, I think, correct me if we're right, we 9 points, 10 points, 11 points in front of Liverpool at this moment in time. I think
we'll go 14 if we win. Yeah, well,
11. 14 points in front of them if we win that game. You know what I mean? Forget about a title at the moment. That's 14 points in front of one of your rivals. That's you'd bite your hand off for that at the first game of the season. You know what I mean? If you'd have said to me going into October, this fixture, if we win it, would be 14 points in Liverpool, in front of Liverpool. You'd be having a laugh. You'd be going, "You're mad, judges. You're mad." You know what I mean? But we could be, and that's what's very, very good. It's too early at this moment to be talking about titles and everything like that. What it is, though, is you've got to be in with a chance. This time last season, we had no chance of winning the title, no chance of being involved in it. We've got a chance of being involved in it. Whether you like it or not, we are top of the league. And me and Kevin were talking today. If Manchester City would have scored 15 goals today, right, won 15-0, they still wouldn't have been top because we're top. So let's bloody enjoy it while we can, and try and get as many points as we can on the board going into the World Cup, and then we see where we are from there. Like, you know. So for me, no, I don't think that we're in a title chase at the moment. We're a team that's challenging for a top 4 and Champions League positions, and we're doing a good job at the moment.
I think it's a good way to answer it. Tom, I want to ask you, because when people say title challenge, like, what does that mean to you? Does that mean like we're in a title challenge now? Do we have to wait till May? Do we have to wait till March? Like, when does it start to become Arsenal are challenging for a title? Because I feel like the media don't want to say it. But to be honest with you, mate, the media just want to slate us all the time. It seems to me like Arsenal just over celebrate. Arsenal the laughing stock, and whenever certain sections, I agree with that. Arsenal the laughing stock, and when we're playing well, let's just laugh at them for something else. They over celebrate, or they're getting carried away, or whatever it be. So I want to ask you that question: if we beat Liverpool, do people start talking about us as the title challengers, or is it way too early, man?
Yeah, I'll tackle the title challenge question. Just advice-wise for everybody watching, you are the biggest asset to some of these outlets to get the traction they need, and they know you're going to get riled up by things that are said about Arsenal because you love Arsenal and you want Arsenal to succeed. Well, hopefully 99% of you, I'm sure, do. Just don't buy into it. Don't watch it. Don't click it. Don't reply to it. You don't need to indulge in it. It's designed to rile you. Most of the opinions out there aren't even genuine. So, don't let it get to you. In terms of a title challenge, if we beat Liverpool, it's a massive statement. But that is all that it is. It's a massive statement. It's a massive sign of progress in terms of that fixture. But it's not a sign that Arsenal are suddenly title challengers. It's my belief that in the league right now, Arsenal, along with City, there's kind of a gap between us two and the other teams as to who's performing the best at the moment. I think Arsenal and City have stood out as the two best performers of the league this season, and that's shown by the table. That's no surprise. But to be a title challenger, this shit comes down into May, mate. This stuff comes down into May. We're not talking about Arsenal as title challengers until we're sitting in April, May, and we're within touching distance of City. And to talk about Arsenal as potential title challengers, and trust me, in every press conference at the moment, the question is being asked to Arteta, because that narrative is going to be desperately tried to be cultivated around Arsenal, because it adds pressure. It adds more expectation. It creates a bigger failure. You think back to last season in a different context. We entered last season with most of us thinking that get back into the top 6, get back into Europe, that's the next step. But because we came so close to top 4 and we were in the top 4 for so long, it changed the kind of the parameters of what the expectations were around Arsenal, so that when we didn't get 4th spot, despite the start of the season that not seeming like a realistic possibility, it was a massive disappointment. And it was, because we were in that position for so long. So in October, it is pointless trying to shift the narrative that Arsenal are suddenly title contenders, because that stuff happens far, far, far further down the line. And Arsenal's sights this season, at a minimum, for me, are on Champions League qualification, either through the Europa League or the League. But the way in which we started this season, there is absolutely no reason why Arsenal shouldn't be qualifying for the Champions League, especially in the context of how our rivals are starting this season. We should absolutely not only be in the conversation, but leading the conversation for Champions League qualification. But no, title challenges, we can talk about that next year, and quite far into next year as well, if we're anywhere near it.
Now I hear that, and facts, Tom, well said. So this is where I stand on it, right? I want to get your opinion on it lastly, right? This is where I stand on it. I am more than happy for people to get wound up in the media. I am more than happy for people to say Arsenal can't win the title. I'm more than happy for people to say that Arsenal only beat small teams. I'm more than happy to say, let's not get excited. Let's wait for them to beat someone big. Keep saying it, because there's no pressure on us then. When we're top of the table and people are saying Arsenal title challenges, Arsenal might be able to win this league, I think Arsenal might win this league this season. That's when the pressure comes on us. I'll just let us enjoy it, man. Let us enjoy it at the moment. Milk it as far as we can, because the way that I see it, Manchester City are going to walk this league. Right? I still stand by that. I've seen enough with my own eyes to know that this guy up top, if he stays fit, he will win it for him probably at the beginning of April. That's how good this guy is, right? So when I look at it as, let's just enjoy the football that we're seeing currently, and let's not put any mention of a title challenge in the month of October. Where do you stand on it, mate?
I agree with all of you, simply put. I think it's also when the media tries to, for example, when the networks try to set you up on the first game of the season under the Friday night lights against a team that battered you the previous season and
100.
willingly wanted to embarrass you, and all of the clickbait that's out there from national radio stations to, and there are good people on lots of different stations who talk differently of Arsenal now, that didn't work. So now the next frontier, and there'll be an onslaught of it if we do beat Liverpool, will be Arsenal title challenges. You know why? Because when it doesn't happen,
Yeah,
they can then hit
well
us
said.
with
I
failure.
agree.
So it's just
Totally.
really important that Arsenal fans stick together. You know, when I was at the games at the Emirates and the away games, I wanted to say the Old Trafford game, even though we lost, the away fans, it was unbelievable. It'd been a long time since I'd experienced something like that with the fans as well, Lee. I just wanted to kind of say the away fans,
Yeah.
I think, were the nucleus of starting this movement that has galvanized everybody. And for me, it's like I'm enjoying watching my team. I can't wait for the weekend this Saturday. I
Yeah.
want us to win because I really want to turn the corner and change that narrative. And I'm excited to watch my team again. No matter where in the world I am, I will watch Arsenal and I will love watching Arsenal always. But let's be honest, it's a lot more fun these days, isn't it? It's like it's too much fun. It's almost I want to pinch myself, which is why I don't want to get sucked in to all of the other stuff.
Yeah, of course. No, I get that 100%. I think you're talking facts. They'll say, oh, Arsenal are now title challengers. Oh, look, they've bottled it again. Absolutely 100%. The media love to do that. We're going to end the show with a couple of super chats, and there's one that I want to give to Tom. The first super chat of the night, I'm going to ask Dave to flick them up on the screen if he can, if he's awake, if he's listening. Hey, life is good as a Gooner right now. Come on, you Gunners. Thank you so much for being one of our members of the channel. If you do want to be a member, click on the join. You're going to see a lot of live and exclusive content from us from now on, starting this week. So please make sure you join the membership, guys. That would be fantastic. Next super chat of the night is saying that we are top of the league. Yawn. I don't quite understand this. Is ED? Does anyone get this? ETH? Trash Tottenham have no pool. I don't know. But thanks for the super chat. Much appreciate it. And this next one, I'm going to give to Tom if it comes up.
I think that was it. I think there was only two.
Oh, was that the last one? Oh, okay.
I think so.
I thought there was a question from Jimmy, but I might have misread it. Okay, no problem. That's cool.
There was a
is
question
only
from
one more.
Jimmy.
I'm
No,
doing
you're
some.
right. There is. There you go.
There we go. Jimmy, what can Saka do to free himself of this double team? Can he develop his game a bit more? He tends to go inside on his left foot more often than not. Tom, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I dropped an answer to this into the chat box for Jimmy, but for everybody else, in terms of what Saka needs to do, there isn't too much, to be honest, because as I talked about earlier, the benefit of teams doubling up on Saka is it's opening up more space for Jesus and Martinelli. The argument for what Saka can do, it's not really down to him. It would be more down to what Ødegaard and Ben White do around him to enable him more space by White overlapping or Ødegaard kind of drawing runners away from him so he's got more space himself. That's how Saka improves. It's nothing he can individually do. It's more down to the tactics and the structure around him. But it's benefiting Jesus and Martinelli, as I say, anyway. So I don't think Saka's contextual quietness, if you want to call it that, is something to be too worried about right now. I think that's more of a result of how other teams are trying to neutralize our threat, and it's actually doing the opposite because it's helping other players in the field. So it's not too much of a problem.
Yeah, man. Long may it continue if it does that. Tom, absolute pleasure having you on yet again, mate. How can people follow your content, bro?
Thanks, man. Yeah, as pleasure as always. Great to join yourself, Lee and Soph, always. You can find me at the Gooner Talk every morning at 8 a.m. bright and early. I'll be there tomorrow, of course. You can find my written stuff over at Football London. So yeah, all the stuff is going on over there. And hopefully we'll be joining Lee at the Football Content Awards because we're both up for separate awards this year.
Awards.
So yeah, if you want to vote for us in the best club content creator Premier League category, do that. And make sure you vote for Lee in the best new content creator category, of course, as well.
There we go. Make sure you do that. Get over to the Gooner Talk TV. Tom's on there every morning, bright and early, talking all things Arsenal. Make sure you go and hit a sub on his channel. And, of course, vote for him in the FCAs. Sophie, thank you for coming on. How can people follow you?
Having me. Yeah, at Highbury Squad on YouTube and all social platforms. Check our content out. Back live tomorrow night for our Monday Madness show with Super Kev. Some fun stuff coming up this week ahead of the Liverpool game. Maybe a little Liverpool legend coming on the show to have a chat for the big one. And yeah, so just enjoying talking about the Gunners at the moment. It's too much fun.
Yeah, it really is, man. Make sure you go over to the Hybrid Squad. There's a link in the description in terms of the FCAs. Make sure you go over to Sophie and Kev on the Hybrid Squad and smash a subscribe. Lee, what a pleasure it is talking about North London Derby.
Oh,
victory.
I'm loving
How
it.
enjoyable is that?
I'm loving it. I'll tell you what, it's always a worry before it, because in what we do now, we have to talk about it after you know. So if you lose to Tottenham, well, you have to go and talk about it and do shows and all that. But I'm going to enjoy this week. I'm going to enjoy it, and it's what it's all about. So I'm going to enjoy that. And I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to Thursday night. I'm looking forward to seeing a few of the younger players, Marquinhos, playing. I'm looking forward to seeing Eddie have a little run out up front. I'm looking to see. I'm hoping that I'll be clapping Jesus warming up on the line and not getting on. And I'm really looking forward to Thursday. I'm looking for, as Sophie said, I'm just looking forward to watching Arsenal play at the moment. It's good. Arsenal is an enjoyable part of my life once again. So fantastic.
Absolutely, man. Can't agree with that more. Guys, please smash a like on this video. Please subscribe to the channel and please join our new membership. Lee and I are going to be going to 4 shows a week, and a lot of that is going to be exclusive to our members. So please join the membership channel. You can do so. Link in the description. Smash a join next to the subscribe button, and you can join the channel and be part of the Lee Judges TV family. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Sophie and Tom. We're going to see you next time. Take care, and we are out of here, guys. Up the Arsenal.
Hi guys, welcome to Lee Judges TV, outside the Emirates, big North London derby, but also we've got some big news for you as well. We're launching our channel membership today.
Lee, how much is a pint at the Emirates?
$6.50 then.
$6.50. That is all you have to pay once a month to be a member of Lee Judges TV. What's that going to get you, Lee?
That is going to get you a live audience with me and you. And also some influencers that you all want to watch, and also some Arsenal legends.
And also, one of you are going to be selected at random to beat the judge at an Arsenal interactive quiz monthly.
Beat the judge? You've got no chance. And during live streams, you can get a membership badge and interact with me and Dan.
All you have to do, guys, is go to Lee Judges TV, click on join and be a part of the Lee Judges TV family.